Hi everyone, this is Charlie Veitch. I'm here in Cornwall. It's May the 23rd, 2012, and we're about 10 days away from the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, which means she's been a illegitimate bloodlined royal monarch for the last 60 years on the British throne, and that's wonderful. A great British country, the poodle slave of the United States, which itself is the poodle slave of the international group of bankers and Zionists and scumfucks. But yeah, Great Britain, a monarchy, killing Arabs in the Middle East to spread democracy. There's no irony, there's no kind of cognitive dissonance there. No, you put on your Union Jack, you swear allegiance to the Queen, you put your hand on the Bible, and you go and kill sand niggers for the Queen to spread democracy. Anyway, that's not really what I came out to talk about. I came out to talk about a vision I had last night. No, I'm not Muhammad, I'm not Jesus Christ, I'm not fucking the Archangel Gabriel, I'm just a bloke who every once in a while has a very deep thought and he goes, fuck! My vision was of humanity and how we're going to progress through Earth and life, the universe. There's going to be three things that, I think there's three outcomes that can be. Either we wipe ourselves out in a complete and utter nuclear holocaust followed by a fucking post-apocalyptic famine, which I don't think is very likely. I think there will always be humans that will survive something, whether it's in a cave or a deep underground military base or deep in the Amazonian jungle. There will always be people who survive such world-changing events. The second option is we completely return to a hunter-gatherer, a primitive way of life as is displayed by some of the headhunting tribes in Papua New Guinea, or again back in the Amazon, some tribes in Africa which are almost uncontacted that are still living primitively, and primitive is actually the most advanced technology you can actually do because it's in absolute harmony with the fractals of nature herself. And so there is abundance, there is fruit and animals hanging from every tree waiting to be eaten. And it's just industrial civilization with our 7 billion people, which makes it impossible to live in a pre-agriculture hunter-gatherer existence. And that's point two. The third way human beings can evolve, and this is the one I hate the most, the one I want the least, and that is as a post-human transhumanist genetically modified human being, which people such as Ray Kurzweil and Nick Bostrom and other transhumanists at big universities fully funded by the military-industrial complex are pushing forward for a post-human world. And they don't even like try and hide the fact of calling it post-human. And if that doesn't send a shiver down your spine, there's something very wrong with you. Post-human. Post-human. What, like machines? No, but what they actually talk about, and there's a TED Talk, if I remember I'll link it in the video, and then in the description box below. There's a TED Talk where Nick Bostrom actually espouses his view that we need to remove the gene for aggression, we need to remove the gene for warfare and fighting from men and women and children so that we can have a peaceful, docile, human Shangri-La, utopia existence where we don't fight. But excuse me, I like that I feel rage, I like that I fight sometimes, I like that I feel aggressive towards things which I hate. Can you imagine 10 billion people who are genetically modified to not feel anger? How easy they would be to do anything. Just read the book Brave New World with the categorizations of semi-moron, moron, imbecile, idiot, beta, alpha, and you'll see what world they want. Because very powerful ruling families, and not the fucking monarchy in Great Britain, although they probably are one of the ruling families, but the Morgans, the Habsburgs, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the fucking black nobility of Rome. They have a kingdom based on fear and hatred and control. And they probably, quite rightly, assume that if the power structures were to collapse, they would be chased to the ends of the earth and have their balls removed and shoved down their throats until they die of suffocation on their own fucking testicles. But they probably would. And you know, who was it? Was it Henry Ford that said that if the American people found out tonight what our banking system is run on, there'd be a revolution tomorrow? And here's the thing, guys, like, we can try and spread information, but whether people are willing to listen or not is a symptom of the utterly fucked up, insane, mentally insane kingdom of hate and fear and sex that we live in. And I say sex because that ticks our boxes and pushes our buttons, and that's why we're sold so much sex. But as I keep saying, the only thing that sells more than sex in this kingdom of hate is fear. And I think I'm qualified to talk about hate and fear because I felt them, but also I've been on the receiving end of a lot of very personal hatred, online, anonymous, cowardly hatred, but also direct at protests, police handcuffing me too tightly, Toronto police throwing me in a cage for 50 hours, London police throwing me in a cage for 50 hours, just being, you know, psychologically tortured by men who are literally just corporate employees of a slave ship. They are the modern day Roman centurions. And so as someone who has been on the front line of engaging and agitating and trying to confront the slave ship, that's my favorite metaphor. It's a fucking slave ship and we're all aboard and half of us are gonna die before our fucking souls are delivered to this fucking Satan. But I'm not even a religious man, I say these things metaphorically, but you know what, like, just to give you some updates as well. I talked about funding in my last video. So many people write to me and write in the comment section and get quite agitated about how I managed to afford, say, a camera or a trip to Brazil or to come down to Cornwall here to see my sister. And the answer is, ladies and gentlemen, is that I am an FSA, Financial Services Authority qualified financial advisor. I used to work in finance. I used to be a banker. I used to sell investments to people like you. And I worked for HBOS, St. James's Place, which is a Lord Jacob Rothschild's company, and other financial houses. And in the last 3 years, I've managed to what's the word? Let me try the right word for the resistance here. I've managed to sequester and liberate £27,000 from the British banking system to use for my own purposes. And it's fake money created by fake souls out of thin air to enslave and keep people poor. And I know my rants, my talks are sometimes very fractal in nature. They don't have a linear structure. And just want to say, poverty, guys, is, you know, the 1 billion people going to bed hungry and waking up hungry every day. That's on purpose. We have more than enough money, military, infrastructure, machines. As Bill Hicks says, we could airdrop laser-guided food into people wherever they are. And people are starving and poor because there is a social hierarchy in place, and the people at the top hate themselves, and in turn they project their hatred onto everyone else because they are terrified fucking cowards, terrified of being human. They want to be post-human. They want to rule like fucking oligarchical fucking reptiles for the rest of eternity. And it's not going to happen. You know what, like, this is just my opinion, and I need to kind of say this before many videos because people go, oh man, that's just your opinion. Of course it's my opinion. It's coming from my subjective mind out of my mouth to you, so of course it's my opinion. But the future for mankind the only one I can see working, and the only one that I think would be devoid of hypocrisy and hatred and slavery and surplus and empire, is the return to hunter-gatherer, tribal, in harmony with nature living, along the lines of the Native Americans in America. And you know what, I forgive them for their warfare and they're fighting other tribes and they're killing other males from other tribes, because you know what, that's local, that's for a point, that's the same predator-prey relationship you see in the natural world. And if human beings want to, you know, fight with other tribes on a very local level, then that's their problem. My big issue is when you have charismatic leaders and a £10 billion propaganda system enslaving and putting uniforms onto young working class boys to go and die obediently in the desert for fucking British Petroleum, for Royal Dutch Shell, for Halliburton, for the military industrial complex. That's what I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with a man deep in the Amazon whose wife is killed, putting on his tribal headdress, picking up an axe and seeking revenge. That to me seems quite fucking natural. But putting on a modern day camouflage uniform, picking up an SA-80 or an M4 carbine, I'm gonna go kill people you don't know for a fucking salary for a college education? Because you know they go after the poor in America and Britain and promise them, oh, you can educate yourself, become a qualified mechanic, become a medic, or we'll pay for your 4 years of university or college if you just come and kill fucking ragheads for us for 6 months or 12 months or 18 months. Yes, so where was I? £27,000 I managed to liberate from the financial system, and that is my bit that I'm doing to try and crash this monstrous slave system. And I don't need any more evidence for how bad it is. I see day to day the obedience, the way people change their minds to ensure that they are not just exposed directly as hypocrites. You'll see people, I don't know, donating money to charity or buying carbon credits, at the same time as they fucking maintain the social hierarchy system, but they're buying their carbon credits. They donated money to UNICEF or fucking Friends of the Earth or whatever, but anyone, and let me do a George W. Bush moment here. You're either, and I mean this, you're either with the resistance and bringing down this horrible world, or you're a part of the problem. You cannot be neutral. It's not enough to say, oh, I'll sit down and listen to dubstep, I'll have a spliff, and I'll just let the fucking world sort itself out. Because no, to remain neutral in any of this is to side with the rich and the powerful. The oppressed people, our own fucking oppressed brains, we don't need neutrality. We need to fucking take sides in order to remain human. So, if I can end on a positive note, I'm just a guy. I have the same kind of emotional problems, the same angers, the same rages, the same passions as anyone else. But I don't know if I have any qualification to do this, but I think it's time now to unite all the tribes in the resistance, whether you're a chemtrail person, a 9/11 truther, whether you're with the Love Police, whether you're with We Are Change, that Luke Rudowski's doing a lot of good work over in New York and Chicago. But it's time to try and maybe unify this under one big unified front that are actually looking out for each other, much like there was a network during the French resistance of people smuggling Jews and food and supplies and bombing train tracks to stop the Nazis in their tracks. We need to present a unified front. And another point as well is I don't believe electronic communications is our friend. Electronic communications is unfortunately our enemy. So it's good now we can write to each other on Facebook and email and so forth, but don't plan anything via electronic communications. The only way I would actually recommend it is to actually whisper in people's ears that you trust, and that's the only real way to get a message across. Or write it on a small piece of paper and swallow it, but don't use email, don't use Facebook, and certainly don't use Twitter. But let's see, what are we going to do for the near future? I think I've been exploring an idea in my mind of absolute and total resistance. From the moment you leave the front door, you see a police officer, or you see a McDonald's employee, or you see a traffic warden. Maybe we should be giving everyone fucking shit in hell from the moment we leave the front door, because the system is all around us and everyone is guilty. Every fucking person that you see that is not actively part of the resistance is keeping this system going. And look, let's forgive them first of all, most of them, because they actually don't know that by carrying on they are destroying humanity. They don't know this. If they knew, as Henry Ford said, there'd be a revolution overnight. So on that note, just want to say thank you to everyone that supports my films and supports my work. And a big hug to everyone, of course, that when I meet you, you come up in the street and you thank me, and I thank you, because without you guys, none of this would be possible. And also a massive thank you to the people in my personal life for your love, your dedication, your affection, and everything else you give me. So with absolute love, rage, because sometimes rage is what you need to confront this system, and understanding, and forgiveness for myself and for all of you for whatever shit you've done. Today is the new fucking day for the rest of your life where you will confront and use total resistance against this system. So do keep in touch. I think I fixed the contact button on my website, so it should be working again. And oh yeah, another thing as well, my film coming out this summer, a big art house cinema release. We're going to send it to Sundance Film Festival and see how they take to the Love Police. And if we win some awards, woo! And also, yeah, I managed to bag a job as a cameraman supporting Polly Higgins and her eradicating ecocide campaign in Rio +20 for the Earth Summit in Rio, which seems to be a pretty nasty gathering of G8 and UN and a bunch of corporations probably going there to try and sabotage the whole thing. But I fully support Polly and her desire to make ecocide a law. I agree it is a step in the right direction, and if you watch the interview with Polly and I, she did state that the world she wants to live in is a world without written laws. And so I support her, and so should you, because her heart's in the right place, and if we can make ecocide a law, then it's a step in the right direction towards no laws. I know it sounds ironic, but watch the interview I did with Polly and you'll understand. It's called Eradicating Ecocide. So with lots of love, and this is the only place in Great Britain, Cornwall, that's not sunny. Even Manchester, the last 3 days has been 25 degrees, and here it's like muggy, 18, cloudy. But anyway, on a positive note, lots of love. Bye.